Imagine this, you write something down today. Now imagine that 2,000 years from now, people are still reading your exact words. Not a rough summary. Not a vague interpretation. Your actual words, preserved with stunning accuracy across 2 millennia of wars, fires, floods, political upheaval, and the rise and fall of entire civilizations. Sounds impossible, right? Yet that's exactly what happened with the Bible. And when you look at the evidence, the story of how this ancient text survived is nothing short of extraordinary. Today, we're diving into one of history's most remarkable preservation stories. How did the Bible survive? What makes its transmission different from every other ancient text? And why do scholars call its preservation unprecedented? Before we talk about the Bible specifically, we need to understand the challenge of preserving any ancient text. In the ancient world, there was no printing press, no photocopiers, no digital backups. Every single copy of every book had to be written by hand. Now, here's the problem: humans make mistakes. A scribe gets tired, their eyes blur, they skip a line, they mishear a word being dictated. Multiply this across centuries and thousands of copies, and you'd expect the text to degrade like a game of telephone played across generations. So how do we know what ancient authors actually wrote? Historians use a process called textual criticism. They compare manuscripts, look for patterns and variations, and reconstruct the original text. The more manuscripts you have, and the closer they are to the original date of writing, the more confident you can be. Let's look at some famous ancient texts. Homer's Iliad, one of the most important works in Greek literature, has about 1,900 surviving manuscripts. The earliest copy we have comes from about 400 years after it was written. That's actually considered exceptional for ancient literature.
Julius Caesar's Gallic Wars? We have 10 manuscripts. The earliest is from 900 years after Caesar wrote it. Plato's works? 7 manuscripts. Earliest copy, 1,200 years after he wrote them. Tacitus's Annals, a crucial source for Roman history? 2 manuscripts. Gap of 1,000 years. Historians accept these texts as reliable despite these gaps. The standards of ancient historiography recognize that this is simply the reality of how ancient texts survived. Nobody seriously questions whether we have Caesar's or Plato's words with reasonable accuracy. So what about the Bible? Specifically, let's talk about the New Testament, since it's the more recent of the 2 testaments and therefore an easier case study for preservation. The New Testament has over 5,800 Greek manuscripts. Plus another 10,000 in Latin, and thousands more in other ancient languages. We're talking about more than 20,000 manuscript copies. And the earliest fragments? We have papyrus manuscripts from the 2nd century, within 100 years of the original writing. Full copies of the New Testament date to around 300 to 350 AD. Compare that to the 400 to 1,200 year gaps for other ancient texts. The New Testament is the best attested document from the ancient world. It's not even close. Narrator. Now let's talk about the Old Testament, which is even older. The Hebrew Bible was written between roughly 1400 and 400 BC. So how did these texts survive? The answer lies in one of history's most meticulous preservation systems, the Jewish scribal tradition. The Jews didn't just copy their scriptures, they protected them with an almost unbelievable level of care. Enter the Masoretes, a group of Jewish scribes who worked between the 6th and 10th centuries AD. These weren't just copyists. They were textual guardians who developed an elaborate system to ensure accuracy.
Here's what they did. First, they could only use ritually clean materials. The scrolls had to be written on the skin of clean animals, fastened with strings from clean animals, and every skin had to contain a specific number of columns. Second, the ink had to be black and prepared according to a special recipe. No exceptions. Third, they couldn't write anything from memory. The scribe had to have an authentic copy before him, and he had to read every word aloud before writing it. Fourth, they counted everything. They counted the verses, words, and letters of each book. They knew the middle verse, the middle word, and the middle letter of each book. If a copy didn't match these counts exactly, it was destroyed. Fifth, each column had to have no less than 48 and no more than 60 lines. The entire copy had to be examined within 30 days of completion. If even one letter was incorrect, the entire scroll was buried or destroyed. Now, you might think this sounds extreme. But then came 1947, and the discovery that would prove the Masoretes weren't exaggerating. A Bedouin shepherd boy threw a rock into a cave near the Dead Sea and heard pottery breaking. Inside that cave, archaeologists found jars containing ancient scrolls. These became known as the Dead Sea Scrolls. Here's why this matters. Before 1947, our oldest complete Hebrew Bible manuscript was from around 1000 AD. The Dead Sea Scrolls contained portions of every book of the Hebrew Bible except Esther, and they dated to between 250 BC and 100 AD. That's a 1,000-year jump backward in time. The question everyone wanted answered: would these ancient texts match the medieval copies we've been using? Had the text changed significantly over a millennium? The answer shocked even the scholars. The Isaiah scroll, one of the most complete scrolls found, was practically identical to the Masoretic text from 1,000 years later. The differences were minor, mostly involving spelling variations and stylistic updates, but the content was the same. One scholar described the accuracy as astounding. Another said the variations were insignificant. After 1,000 years of copying by hand, the text had remained stable. This is unprecedented in ancient literature. Now let's return to the New Testament. Christianity started as a persecuted minority religion. For the first 300 years, Christians were periodically hunted, imprisoned, and killed. Their books were burned. Their meeting places were destroyed. This should have been a death sentence for their scriptures. Imagine trying to preserve documents when the most powerful empire in the world is actively trying to destroy them. But here's what happened instead. Christianity spread rapidly across the Roman Empire and beyond. Churches formed in Judea, Syria, Greece, Rome, Egypt, North Africa, and eventually throughout Europe and Asia. And each community needed copies of the sacred texts. So they copied them. Constantly. In Greek, Latin, Syriac, Coptic, Ethiopic, Armenian, and more. Each church, each community, each region had its own copies. This created something unique, a distributed preservation system. You couldn't destroy the Bible by burning manuscripts in one location because there were copies in hundreds of other locations, across different empires, languages, and cultures. Now, having thousands of copies made by different people in different places created variations. A word here, a phrase there, spelling differences, grammatical updates. Modern scholars have catalogued these variations meticulously. But here's the crucial point: the vast majority of these variations are completely trivial. We're talking about spelling differences, word order, the presence or absence of the, or, and. About 75% of the New Testament has no textual variations at all. The remaining 25% has variations, but most are immediately obvious as copying errors. Scholars estimate that less than 1% of the text involves variations that are both meaningful and viable, meaning they actually affect the meaning and we're not sure which reading is original. And none of these affect any major Christian doctrine. Think about that: after 2,000 years, thousands of manuscripts, hundreds of copyists, multiple languages, and periodic attempts to destroy the text, we can reconstruct the original with over 99% certainty. Daniel Wallace, a textual critic, put it this way: the wealth of manuscripts for the New Testament means we can get closer to the original text than with any other ancient document. The very thing that skeptics point to as a problem, the many variations, is actually evidence of the text's remarkable preservation. But the story of preservation isn't just about careful copying. It's about survival against incredible odds. Emperor Diocletian, in 303 AD, launched the most severe persecution of Christians in Roman history. His explicit goal was to eliminate Christianity by destroying their sacred writings. He issued edicts demanding that all Christian scriptures be surrendered and burned. Some Christians complied. Others hid their manuscripts. Many died protecting them. Diocletian failed. Fast forward to the medieval period. Viking raids devastated monasteries across Europe. The very places where manuscripts were copied and preserved. Countless manuscripts were lost. But enough survived in enough locations that the text continued. The Islamic expansion in the 7th century swept through the Middle East, North Africa, and parts of Europe. Christian communities in these regions were suppressed, churches destroyed, libraries burned. The text survived because it existed in Constantinople, Rome, Armenia, Ethiopia, and beyond. Over the centuries, countless individual manuscripts were destroyed by fire, flood, decay, war, and deliberate persecution. The Library of Alexandria, which may have contained biblical manuscripts, was destroyed. Monasteries burned. Wars ravaged entire regions. And yet, by the time Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press in the 1450s and made the Bible his first major publication, the text that was printed was substantially the same text that had been written 1,400 years earlier. Today, the Bible has been translated into over 3,500 languages. It's the most published, most translated, most studied book in human history. And when scholars translate it into new languages today, they're translating the same words that were written 2,000 years ago. So what does all this mean? Why should we care about manuscript evidence and textual criticism? Because when you hold a Bible in your hands today, you can know with confidence that you're reading the same message that was written in the 1st century. The words you're reading are the words the authors wrote. Remember those other ancient texts we mentioned? Nobody questions whether we have Plato or Caesar or Tacitus with reasonable accuracy, even though the manuscript evidence is far weaker. We base our entire understanding of ancient history on documents with far less attestation than the Bible. The textual evidence is also corroborated by archaeology, by early church fathers who quoted the scriptures extensively in the 2nd and 3rd centuries, and by multiple independent textual traditions that developed in different regions but maintained the same core text. Think about this: manuscripts from Egypt match manuscripts from Syria match manuscripts from Greece match manuscripts from Rome. These communities didn't have the internet. They didn't have instant communication. They were copying independently, yet the text remained remarkably stable. Is this a miracle in the supernatural sense? That's for you to decide based on your own beliefs. But it's certainly a miracle in the sense of being extraordinary, unprecedented, and statistically improbable. Against persecution, against time, against human error, against fire and flood and war, against the technological limitations of the ancient world, against every force that should have corrupted or destroyed it, the text survived. Not just survived, thrived. The preservation of the Bible is a story of dedication. Of Jewish scribes who counted every letter. Of Christian copyists who worked by candlelight. Of communities who hid manuscripts at great personal risk. Of scholars who dedicated their lives to ensuring accuracy. It's a story of survival against impossible odds. And whether you approach this from a perspective of faith or purely from historical curiosity, the evidence points to one undeniable conclusion. The Bible's preservation is unlike anything else in the ancient world. For 2,000 years, through everything history could throw at it, the text endured. And that, by any measure, is remarkable. Thanks for watching. If you found this fascinating, let me know in the comments what aspect of biblical preservation you'd like to explore more deeply. And subscribe for more deep dives into history's most intriguing questions.